And at this time, then I'll ask Dr. Craig and his team to please stand for the reading of the verdict. As to verdict form, count 1, murder in the first degree. We, the jury, unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt, find the defendant, James Craig, guilty of murder in the first degree. Verdict form, count 2, solicitation to commit tampering with physical evidence, Annabelle Craig. We, the jury, unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt, find the defendant, James Craig, guilty of solicitation to commit tampering with physical evidence. Verdict form, count 3, solicitation to commit tampering with physical evidence, Casey Bohannon. We, the jury, unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt, find the defendant, James Craig, guilty of solicitation to commit tampering with physical evidence. Verdict form, count 4, solicitation to commit perjury in the first degree. Jury, unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt, find the defendant, James Craig, guilty of solicitation to commit perjury in the first degree. Verdict form, count 5, solicitation to commit murder in the first degree, Nathaniel Harris. We, the jury, unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt, find the defendant, James Craig, guilty of solicitation to commit murder in the first degree. Verdict form, count 6, solicitation to commit perjury in the first degree as to Cassiani Constantinidis. We, the jury, unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt, find the defendant, James Craig, guilty of solicitation to commit perjury in the first degree. As to verdict form, count 7, manslaughter, cause or aid suicide, we, the jury, find the defendant, James Craig, not guilty of manslaughter, cause or aid suicide. Let me then turn to the foreperson and ask, is this the verdict of the jury? Do all of you agree with this verdict?
Yes, we do.
At this point in time, you can be seated. Let me ask then if either party wishes to have the jury pulled from the people,
No, Your Honor.
from the defense?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to, just for, so that you are aware, the court is going to be asking if this is in fact your verdict. I'm going to use first names with your last initial, just so that you are clear, so that you understand what you're looking for when it's your turn then to respond to the court's question. Matthew H., is this your verdict?
Yes.
The verdict of the jury is received and shall be recorded. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case has now been concluded, and I wish to express my appreciation to you for your services. You may now talk to anyone, including the attorneys and parties, about the case. Whether you do so is entirely up to you. If you decide not to discuss this case, your decision will undoubtedly be respected. However, if an attorney or a party persists in discussing the case over your objection or becomes critical of your services as a juror, please report the incident to me. You are now allowed to leave with the thanks of the court. I have a few matters that I need to address with the attorneys, and then I can come back and speak with you or any of you who would like to talk with me regarding this case, or if anyone has any questions. Ms. Mammo will now take you back to the jury room for you to gather your belongings and also return your badges. Thank you again for your service. Please rise.
Well, Kelly, as we've been discussing, I don't think it's surprising based on the evidence that he has been found guilty of count one, top charge, first-degree murder as well.
Take a recess then to go back and speak with the jurors. Anything from the people at this time outside the presence of the jury
No.
and from the defense?
No, Your Honor, as we stated, we're going to be asking, given the verdicts, to be asking to be able to go to immediate sentence.
Understood. I will go back and speak with the jury. The parties will have an opportunity to determine if anybody also wants to address the court. And then I will come back and we can proceed then to sentencing. With that, the court then is in recess for, I would imagine, at least 10 minutes. And then the court will be back then for sentencing.
And Kelly, as I was mentioning, there's first of all, a live pic. There's the defendant attorney's hand was just on his back as he's standing. The jury's leaving. The judge will go talk to the jury. They'll come back for sentencing. Guilty of first-degree murder for poisoning his wife. Also, all those lesser charges, not lesser, separate charges of solicitation that you mentioned. I don't think it's surprising, and they're going to go forward with sentencing today.
Yes, not surprising at all in this case. And what just a sad situation. This is a couple. They were married for 23 years. They have 6 children together. There was evidence that was brought forth, and then also in the research of this case, talking about that he possibly was a sex addict, and that she had talked with him, his wife had talked with him about getting off the hookup sites that were like this sugar daddy site, looking for sugar babies. And she did write in her journal, and defense counsel brought that forth, that she was depressed and that she felt she wasn't good enough for him or enough for him because he constantly was cheating on her. At one point, he had written that his income was $800,000 a year. That's what he was bringing in. Then he had some other financial difficulties. So talk about a fall from grace. They had this family, he had a dental practice, and then eventually he can't, I guess, control his ability to want to continue cheating, and then figures out, well, I'm running into these issues and I'm going to end up slowly poisoning my wife and then make it appear that she is the one that is suicidal. I'm not saying that maybe she didn't have some challenges because of what he was maybe doing. But his people were testifying that she was not suicidal. Even one of the charges that he was just found guilty of, there was testimony from his daughter, his own daughter, that took the stand that said that my dad had suggested to me that I fabricate some information in regard to my mom and her being suicidal.
Right, to say that it came from the mom, and that's why he could then pin the blame on the mother if the daughter would have lied, which she didn't. And you're right, it is a downward spiral. And in fact, I just have to mention the whole beginning of this case was when his dentist partner said, oh my gosh, there's this poison here in the office, and that's not something we use in the course of business, and reported it.
Yeah, and he reported it. And these were 2 men, and I believe they had gone to dental school together, or they knew each other, and they started the business again together because Mr. Craig was having some financial difficulty, thought if he partnered with this other dentist that he had known for years that maybe things could get back on track, and they started to get back on track. But when you take a look at the timeline in this case, yeah, he had received a package at his dental office that had a biohazard sticker on it that was labeled potassium cyanide. That was just 5 days before Angela's death. And then even before that, he had arsenic delivered to his home.
That's crazy.
So, Marie, I mean, really, the evidence here was, I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, jury found him guilty, so, I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of
I think it was the right verdict.
I think it was the right verdict.
Kelly, you sound speechless, like I am. Like, we just don't understand, you know, as women, you know, that poor woman had 6 children. So to me, she's not going to commit suicide because her husband cannot control himself when it comes to other women. I am an uncertified cheatingologist expert. and I'll do some TMI. I've been married to men who cheat. You're not gonna typically say, I'm gonna take cyanide and kill myself. And by the way, help me kill myself because you can't control yourself with other women. It's not happening. So the whole thing didn't make any sense. And like I said, she was going to the doctor seeking help about her symptoms. Why would she do that if she was the one killing herself slowly with arsenic? Make it make sense, people. He's thinking not with his brain, but with his other anatomical part. That's what happened here.
But I think it highlights that attorneys have to work with what they have. And his defense, I think, did a good job working with what they had. The jury saw through it. I do want to mention there was a not guilty of manslaughter. Now, I'm not surprised. Go ahead.
So, from my understanding, and I was surprised when they read it the way that they did, because,
Right.
and Marie, you can weigh in here. So basically, it was the top charge, first-degree murder. The judge in the instructions told the jury that if you find him guilty of that top charge, then you don't need to go to manslaughter. So, I've never practiced in Colorado. I don't know why they then had to come back on that not guilty for manslaughter, because from my understanding, top charge, guilty, first-degree murder, you don't even go then to manslaughter. But maybe I missed something.
It is kind of wild the way they read it, and I thought the same thing. It was definitely a not guilty, but did they have to read that or not? Marie, weigh in on that part, please.
They had to read it because the manslaughter was connected with the assisted suicide. So them rejecting the manslaughter means it never had to be, because this was not an assisted suicide. They rejected that completely. I think for them to accept the manslaughter and the assisted suicide would be to even give it breath of air. So it was like not guilty because it was connected with the assisted suicide.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
why nobody believes that story.
Okay. And it's interesting that he's ready to go straight forward with sentencing. The judge was going to go speak to the jury. She said about 10 minutes, I'll come back in. You all decide if you want to present any other evidence, any statements by people, and then they're going to proceed with the sentencing. Let's do this. We need to take a break. I want to thank you, Kelly Craft, for joining us, jumping right in. You knew all the details of the case.